there's a woman to blame, but I know it's nobody's fault. I don't know the reason I stay here all season, with nothing to show but this brand new tattoo. But it's a real beauty, a Mexican cutie. How we got here, I haven't a clue. Wasting away again in Margaritaville, searching for my forsaken soul. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame. Now I think it could be my fault. I blew on my flip-flop, stepped on a papa, got my heel, had to cruise on back home. There's booze in the blender, and soon it will render that frozen concoction that helps me hang on. Wasting away again in Margaritaville, searching for my forsaken soul. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, and I know it's my own damn fault. All right. How are we doing out there?
Doing great. Doing great. Let's hear one more for us, Jorge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma. Desde morir me quiero cantar mis versos del alma. Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera. Busco una piedra blanca que jamás había encontrado. Busco en el tronco esa vida que jamás había encontrado. Yo busco en estas tierras a mi patria querida. for the band? Right. All right.
Thank you, Jorge.
I never signed to my computer before, but hey, always the first time. Thank you so much. Is that it for now?
Yes, that's great. Thank you, Jorge.
Salud, everybody.
Everyone give a round of applause for Jorge. I put his Instagram handle in the chat. Thank you so much. Jorge was supposed to perform for us next week at a live event, which clearly is not happening. So he was so gracious to do this for us instead. So thank you again. I think we've got quite a crew on the call so far. We've got some more that I think will be signing on, but we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the first of the Shea Joyful Zoom series. I'm Jessica Shea with Shea. Megan and Casey are here as well from my team. Say hi, ladies. You've probably heard from them through some of the communication. So we're really excited to get our first virtual event started. The purpose of these was really to bring some joy to everybody's day. I know everyone's been on business calls and endless Zooms that are very also important for sure, but we felt there was a need for something a little more fun and casual, so that's what we're doing here. And we're really happy that all of you are here seeing your faces for the first time for, seems like forever. And I don't know about you guys, but I had plans tonight. It kind of felt good to have plans. So this is me and my first full face of makeup for, it's been a while. So
yeah, putting on mascara was a whole other experience. Felt very foreign.
Like, do I remember how to do this? Okay. So as you guys know, we're here tonight to make some great margaritas. We're gonna do a fun activity, but I want everybody to have a drink in your hand first. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to T and Nicole with Cocktail Curations. They are great partners of ours. We've done events with them last year. They are awesome, and they are going to teach us how to do something that for some reason I can't seem to figure out, and it's how to make a margarita that tastes as good as it does in a restaurant. So I will turn it over to you ladies.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We were honored when Jessica asked us to collaborate on this event because as she mentioned, we've worked with Jessica on several events, and we are just always loving the amount of, she takes us up on level all the time, and really being creative and taking us to a different place with our cocktails. So basically, I'm T, and you will see Nicole over there too. We're the founders of Cocktail Curations. And we are an off-premise beverage company, and we offer unique bar experiences. We teach cocktail classes. We teach spirit tastings and such. We produce cocktails, but we also produce zero-proof beverages, botanical waters, tonic waters, and garnishes. And today we're just here to really kind of hopefully have you have fun and elevate your bar with what we consider thoughtfully curated beverages. And with what Jessica said with margaritas, it's so much about just simple, beautiful, natural ingredients. We teach basically making cocktails with quality spirits, fresh ingredients, and well-balanced proportion. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to share just basic techniques with you, proper ratios, and really kind of leave it up to you to twist it and give a little bit of creativity and improvise based upon what flavors you like. But we like to go with classic cocktails first and foremost because it does allow you to understand what the basic techniques are and also what the proportions are. Because once you know that, you really can take any other ingredient, substitute it, and have fun with it. And so as a former chef, you know, what I really believe in is being able to drink the way that I eat, which is, you know, if you enjoy certain flavors, incorporate it. And you want really just a balanced cocktail, just like you want a meal. So you want to bring in different things like sweet, sour, salty, savory, bitter, and really bring that complexity into the cocktail and be able to balance that. And so with margaritas, I find it funny because there's so much, when you look at margaritas, it's so much about the store-bought mixers. And Nicole and I are big believers that you should walk past that aisle, go straight to the produce section, pick up some citrus, get some beautiful simple sugars, and you really don't need much to make a beautiful margarita. And so the way that we're going to do this class is we have you all muted, but we love being able to, you know, to have that conversation with you all also. We miss it, we want it. We're used to teaching these classes in front of you, not in front of a computer. So please feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions, and, you know, enjoy it with us. And we want it to be as interactive as possible. The other thing that you can do if you're not familiar with Zoom is if you scroll on myself and on Nicole, the 3 dots above it, you can pin the video. And if you pin the video, especially on Nicole while she's teaching, it will kind of keep, as people are speaking, still keep her in the frame of everything. And so Nicole, I'm gonna throw it right to you.
Awesome, thank you, T. And hey guys, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to share with you the basics of how to bake one of my favorite cocktails. And I know if you know me, you will hear me say that about almost every cocktail, but it's because I really love them all. And I love, you know, the simplest of cocktails because they are what they should be. They let spirit shine and they let the ingredients shine, and it lets you take your creativity to the next level when you have a really simple base. So this is going to be really fun, and what a better time to do it than right now. So, you know, what we're going to start with is the structure of the class. Let me tell you a little bit how we're going to do this. So first, I'm going to give you a little bit of history because there's nothing better than actually drinking and knowing the things you're drinking about. It's one of my favorite things. And then I'm going to go through the tools that we're using. And then I'll run through ingredients, and I will show you how to make the drink. And however tempting it might be to make the drink with me at that time, let me get through the whole drink, and then I will do it one more time. And with that time, the second time I'm making the cocktail, you'll be making it with me. So you'll get to see how it's done and then execute. And that's actually the best way to do it. And then we will send it over, and T is going to show you how to garnish a cocktail properly, because there's literally no one in this world better than that. And then finally we can drink it. It's going to be hard, but we'll make it through, I promise. Not that
Nicole,
I have.
Nicole, before you continue, is anyone, for some reason, I think it's pinned to the screen of the musician key?
It is.
I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know. Like for me, when I go to click on everybody, it does still give me the option to pin everyone. So when you go onto to Jorge's screen, can you try unpinning it? Like this, it's weird because I don't have it pinned on my screen. Does that work? Can you try to pin it now?
No, oh, there you are.
Oh,
yep.
There's you. Hi.
Does that work?
I think it's whoever's speaking, I believe.
Yes, that
You know,
works
maybe
now.
it's because
That's much
if I
better.
spotlight All right, if I spotlight Nicole,
There we go.
Hey, there we go. Perfect.
let me just do it that way. Okay.
All right.
All right. Sorry,
All right, this
Nicole.
is great. Okay, cool. All right, so let's start with the history, because this is like my favorite part of alcohol, is that there's so much history. But let's bring it back to the reason why we're making margaritas today. Cinco de Mayo is coming up next Tuesday, and I just want to give you a little bit of understanding of what Cinco de Mayo is. So the 5th of May is actually the day in 1862 that the Mexican army defeated the French army at the Battle of Puebla, and it ultimately ended the Franco-Mexican War. So I know that we a lot of times represent it as Mexican Independence Day. It's not technically that. And actually in Mexico, it's a pretty minor holiday. But in the United States, we really love to celebrate it. And we love to use this day to celebrate Mexican culture and heritage. And honestly, what better way to do that than with cocktails? That's how I celebrate Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, probably through Sundays. So I think it's probably the best way to do this anyway. Let's get on to the history of the drink itself. Does anyone out there actually know the history of the margarita? Understandable if you don't, right? Because so much of spirits and cocktail history is oral history, and it's really hard to know the difference of what actually happened or what's a really pretty story. But we definitely know two stories that have the big claim to fame. And we know the general time when we first started seeing the cocktail written in cocktail books. So the first story or legend is that in 1938 in Mexico, there was a bar and restaurateur owner. His name was Carlos Herrera, and he was trying to impress this new actress that was often frequenting his bar. Her name was Marjorie King. And she told him that she was allergic to every type of spirit except for tequila. And he really wanted to like show her something special. So he decided to take the components of the way you traditionally drink tequila as a shot. So the tequila, the lime, and the salt. And he decided to mix it all together in a drink to make it a lot more palatable and probably get her drunk, let's be honest. And he named it after her, is how the story goes. So he named it the Margarita after Marjorie King. And we do know around that time in 1938 is when we start seeing this mixture as a drink with tequila, lime, salt, and a liqueur. But there's a story that I choose to believe was the first. And it's more of a story of like party girl ingenuity, which, you know, is also wonderful. So this story is in 1948. So 10 years later, after Carlos Herrera possibly started this cocktail, there was a socialite from Dallas. Her name was Margaret Sames, and she loved to throw parties, which I totally get it. And so she invited a bunch of friends that she had made in Spain over to her house in Acapulco, and she, as welcome cocktails, had created her favorite cocktail, which was a mixture of her two favorite things. It was a mixture of Cointreau and tequila. And to really, really take it up a notch, because that's what it's all about, she had found these hand-blown glasses that were shaped like sombreros, because she wanted to celebrate the area that she was in. And she knew that the tequila and the orange tasted fantastic with a little bit of lime and salt, because again, that's like the traditional way to be drinking tequila, and we'll go into why in a little bit. So she actually took these sombrero glasses and rimmed them with salt, and then put the drink inside with the Cointreau and put a big wedge of lime on the side. And her guests loved it. And in honor of her amazing drink, they named it after her, as the story goes. So they called it the Margarita, since her name was Margaret. And so we know that definitely in cocktail books, we see this mixture of lime and tequila before 1948, but we never actually see the name of the drink until after 1948. And it was actually that year, the first time we see it in cocktail books. So I think it makes a lot of sense to give Margaret Sames a lot of the credit to making this wonderful cocktail, and especially because the glassware was definitely her ingenuity. All right, so now that we know a little bit more and we can tell people a little bit more, next time we have a cocktail, let's talk about the tools that we're using today. So I don't know what everybody has, and let's see what everybody has. But I'll tell you what I have. But I'm obviously obsessed with barware. But I will be using today what is called a Boston shaker or a two-piece shaker. This is just something, the two pieces are something that you close up in order to shake and make something cold. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter, right? If you have a water bottle with a lid that closes, that's perfect. If you have a protein shaker, right? As long as it closes, it's awesome. Or even a ball jar, literally a mason jar that you can close. The whole point is we're gonna put ice and liquid into this, and we're gonna shake it until it's ice cold and we get some ice chips in there, because that's what makes a drink great. And as long as we can do that in any kind of closed receptacle, it doesn't matter. So if you have the two-piece shaker, more power to you, but anything will work. The next piece I'm gonna use is called a Hawthorne strainer. So this type of strainer has a little bit of a coiled spring on the bottom. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And that is what goes inside of your cocktail shaker in order to strain out the liquid from the solids. So if you don't have this, you honestly don't need it today. You can pour the whole drink into your glass, and that's something that we call in the industry a dirty dump, which sounds terrible, but it's totally fine. Or you could use just a general, like a fine mesh strainer, anything that you have that'll just strain the liquid out from the ice, and then we'll put it on fresh ice. The next important piece is something that this is called a double-sided jigger. It's also called a Japanese jigger. This is just what we're gonna use to measure out the volume of the spirits and the mixers that we're using. So traditionally on a Japanese jigger, the small side, or a double-sided jigger, the small side is 1 ounce all the way to the brim, and the big side is 2 ounces all the way to the brim. And often it'll have demarcations on the inside to let you know where a 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and 3/4 ounce is, or 1.5 ounces and 2 ounces on the big side. If you don't have that, again, really no big deal. There's an easy conversion with tablespoons. So 1 ounce is 2 tablespoons. So 2 ounces is 4 tablespoons. 3/4 ounce is 1.5 tablespoons. So if you have that at your house, we're gonna do the same thing, and I'll walk through the conversions again when we make the drink. The final thing that I'm gonna be using is a bar spoon. You, again, don't need this today because we are mixing everything in the shaker. So when you pour it out of your shaker or whatever you're using, it'll be a fully mixed drink. So you won't have to worry about a bar spoon. I'm gonna use it to garnish, but that's about it. Oh, and in order to juice our limes, because you can buy lime juice, but there is nothing in this world better than fresh citrus juice. I personally am going to be using a reamer that looks like this. There are ones that...
This one here.
Yeah, so T has one. There are others that are just like a hand juicer. There's so many different variations. I also, in a pinch, am very happy just to squeeze the juice out of a citrus. But what we're going to do is squeeze enough of it that we're going to be able to measure out an entire ounce, which will be about their entire, the whole lime. So both halves of your lime. So how does everybody's setup look? Are you guys ready to make drinks? Do you have any interesting substitutions for your cocktail shakers?
Yeah, let's see. Is everybody who has actual shakers? And then who has things that they're improvising with? I see a protein shaker. Yeah.
All right. All of this
Awesome.
works. Perfect.
It will work. Terrific.
Yeah, it absolutely works.
It seems like most people have shakers. Awesome.
You know, and if you pour it all into your glass, also, I won't judge you. All right. So Now that we know our tools, let's talk about the ingredients, right? I will never stop saying this. The more simple a cocktail, the better. All we want to do is let ingredients shine. And I feel that way about cooking. I feel that way about everything. Simple is best. And this cocktail is exactly as it should be. But the fun thing about it is when you have 3 ingredient cocktails and you have really simple cocktails, it lets you take your creativity to the next level once you get a mastery of the classic, of the basics, right? So now we know how, at the end of this class, hopefully you'll understand how these flavors balance each other and exactly what proportions that we're adding. And so if you want to make it spicy, if you want to add in a different fruit, if you want to add in some other interesting herb, all of that is amazing. Just knowing how to keep with the base that we're starting with is the right way to do it. And this is the best classic variation of a margarita that I can give you, which is awesome because it's simple and I love it. All right, cool. So we're going to be using 3 ingredients. Well, 4 if you talk about salt. And I had you guys hopefully have made, although we'll walk through, I had you make my absolute favorite salt for garnishing a margarita, and I will never stop using it. And it's just equal parts sugar and salt with a teaspoon of chili powder. And it adds all of the things that you want in there. It's not just a bite of salt. It is the full balance of everything that you want in a drink. But we'll talk about that. All right. So quickly, you guys are probably using tequila. I am going to be using mezcal today. They are both distilled from the same plant. So when we talk about tequila and mezcal, I can give you like a really long technical breakdown, but we're going to go pretty simple today unless you have more questions. And if you do, please, at the end when we're drinking, please feel free to ask me some questions that are maybe more technical. But both products are distilled spirits and both come from agave. Traditionally, tequila is distilled in Jalisco. So that was the first state, and for a long time, it was the only state in Mexico that could distill tequila. And now there are about, I think, 7 other Mexican states that can distill tequila. Mezcal originally was only produced in Oaxaca, and now I believe there are 9 other states that allow mezcal production. They are both, I don't know if you've ever seen agave. Agave grows in all kind of desert climates. It's a succulent, basically. It's a big pine base with these long spikes that kind of come out. They take up a huge amount of space, and when you pick them, you chop off all of the spikes that come out, the succulent ends, and you cut it up, and it has a high enough sugar content that what you do is add yeast to it, let the yeast kind of eat the sugars and create ethanol and carbon dioxide. And what you do is distill that so that you are isolating the ethanol from that. And through distillation, you carry over some really nice other flavors and chemicals that turn it into the beauty of what we know as tequila and mezcal. And through that distillation, you get a lot of really savory notes, which is why that high acid and salt pair so beautifully with tequila. And the main breaking point between tequila and mezcal is, since 1994, the designation for mezcal has really meant that it is an agave-based spirit that needs to be processed after the agave is picked in a very traditional way. So after the agave is picked, it is actually baked in clay ovens with open flame most of the time, which is what gives it that kind of, when we talk about mezcal, you think of smoky, right? So that open flame cooking of the agave to release more sugars, that actually gives it that smoky and earthy flavor. So the one I'm using today is called Maximo. Maximo is awesome. It's really, really clean. If you ever wanted like a starter mezcal, this guy is it. So if you've had mezcal and you're like, whoa, it's so much flavor, this one is definitely a beginner. It bridges that gap between, it's not overly vegetal, it's not overly smoky. It just gives a little bit more flavor of like the tequila that you want. So That's our tequila. I hope I didn't talk too much about it. I love spirits. So the second ingredient that we're going to be using is lime. It's fresh lime, right? If you think of every time in college that you had a tequila shot, it was salt and lime, and you don't want to stray too far from the original. Lime citrus with tequila is out of this world. So we're going to put a whole ounce of lime in ours. And then you want orange liqueur. That's what makes margarita as well. The classic is Cointreau. If you have it, this is the exact sweetness and orange that we are looking for in a very classic margarita. If you have other like triple sec or other orange liqueurs, that works absolutely. There might need to be a slight adjustment in proportions, and you'll be able to taste for the sweetness or not, but it should just be perfect. If you don't have any orange liqueur at all, and you have, let's say, Saint Germain, which is an elderflower liqueur, or Domaine de Canton, which is like a ginger liqueur, all of that is going to taste so good in this drink. There's really no wrong answer, right? If you're using these same proportions that we're giving you, there's no wrong answer. You're going to make a really, really good drink, maybe even better than one that I'm making right now. All right. So those are the basics, right? These are the basic ingredients. And then after we make it, what we're going to do is put that chili, sugar, salt on the top of the cocktail. That's the way that I like to drink it, because I don't want it to be just a garnish, right? I want it to be incorporated into the cocktail to really balance all those flavors out. So for me, I'm going to make the drink and I'm going to sprinkle it all over the top. But there's two other ways to do it, and all of it is something, we'll walk through. T can show you how to do it. You can also rim the glasses. So another way to do it is to do a full kind of wipe on the rim, and then you put it in your chili, lime, salt mixture, so that the entire top of this has the garnish on it, the salt. So that every sip that you take, it'll give you that on your lips, and you can lick it, and it adds that kind of back that you're looking for traditionally when you're taking a tequila shot. Or you could do it the way that my recommendation always is. So if you want to rim a glass, I always recommend, or T and I always recommend, that you only do it on a portion of the glass, and you do it a thicker portion, because garnish should be a suggestion and not a forced option. So if you do it and just rim one side of it, the person drinking it, you drinking it, can decide to have it with or without salt. But if you're doing either one of those, I still recommend throwing a little bit on top. All right. It was a long time for me to talk about that. I'm really sorry if I went too far on the agave, but please ask more questions if you have. Okay, so I am going to make one drink, and I know that you want to make it now with me, but just wait. I promise it'll be worth it in the end. I'm going to walk through. It's so easy. I'm going to walk through how to make it, and then you're going to make it with me the second time. So into our mixing container. So if it's a Boston shaker, if it's the protein shaker, if it's anything, we're going to put the ice first.
And I'm gonna answer in just because I don't have my keyboard on it, but yeah. So someone said that I think Mariana said that she has Grand Marnier, and that perfect. Completely works too.
Absolutely, and actually, if you go to like classic Mexican American restaurants, it's called a Cadillac margarita. It's always that's the fancier version, because there's cognac in it, and it actually adds a lot more body. It's not that much sweeter than Cointreau, but it is a gorgeous thing to have. So I think that sounds great. All right, so I filled my shaker up about a third of the way with ice. And the first thing I always put on top of the ice, and the reason I put the ice first is because if you put the ice last, imagine putting solids on top of liquids. It splashes it everywhere and you lose your drink, and that's a bummer. So we don't want to do that. So on top of our ice that's in our shaker, I am going to put 2 ounces of tequila. Mezcal for me, but a light mezcal, so, you know. All right, and then next I'm gonna put my Cointreau, and this is a 3/4 ounce. So if you are measuring by tablespoons, that's 1.5 tablespoons. If you are measuring with your jigger, it is the small side, almost to the top. Leave a 1/4 ounce off of the top. And then finally, we're gonna do our lime juice, and always fresh is best. A lot of times if you buy citrus juice from the store, the way that they keep it preserved is by adding more citric acid. So I don't know if you've ever like had some and it makes you have like, gives me heartburn, honestly. That's because it's much higher citric acid content than from fresh citrus. So I'm gonna use my juicer, and the reason I'm using this one is because it makes it really easy. I can juice it all into the bottom here and then measure it from there. But it's gonna be about 1 whole lime. If you have a lime that's like doesn't have very much juice in it, no big deal. If you get close to an ounce, that's the best that you can do. That's no big deal at all. If you have 2 limes, you want to juice more, that's great. I mean, ahead of time, I definitely juiced a lot of limes and put it in a bottle just in case. But it's because this is, you know, all I think about all day. So no big deal. All right, so we're gonna do 1 ounce. That's exactly perfect. 1 ounce of lime juice into our shaker. And then that's it. So the next piece of this is going to be making it cold. So whatever you're using, you're going to seal it up. If you are using this Boston shaker like me, you can see when I seal it, I am sealing it so that on one side it is completely flush, and on the other side there's a gap, right? And that's how we know it's actually sealed. And the way to really test it is to grab it from the short side and make sure that it doesn't fall off. If it doesn't fall off, you're good to go. You can shake it. You're not going to spill it everywhere. So I'm gonna show you the basic shaking style. And then when you shake, I'm going to judge you on it because that's what I do. All right, you ready? So you're going to be shaking not only back and forth, but up and down as well. So it kind of looks like this. Not only is it a workout, so we're going to work out before we drink, it also is a wonderful sound. And if you have music, it is so fun to dance to. It's pretty much like everything that you need is a good shake. So my hands are cold. It's ready to go. I expect you to shake it longer. When we make the second drink, I will shake it longer. But this is it. So you would see oftentimes me using this. I actually don't like drinking out of this glass, even though I was before. So I'm going to be drinking out of a rocks glass, which is totally fine if you are too. If you have a margarita glass, use it. But right now, this is the way that I'm going to do it. So I've got some nice ice that I'm going to put in. Luckily, it's just me drinking, so you know, I can use my hand for it. And I'm going to use my Hawthorne strainer, and I am going to strain this drink over some ice. Okay, I'm going to tell you not to drink yet when you're done, but it's going to be really hard for me. And then the final thing that I usually do is add the salt and chili, but we'll do that after I make the second drink. So, you guys ready? Do you feel confident? Everybody ready to make this drink?
Well, let's garnish the glass first.
So so if
just so that we have that ready,
right? So if you are going to rim your drink, that's a very good call. You have to do it before you put the liquid in. Same idea, you know, if you were putting the ice after the liquid, right? We can't rim a glass comfortably if your drink is already in here. Yeah. So if it is your choice,
sugar on that. I'm gonna make the garnish, the sugar
Perfect.
that we sent the recipes for. But before we do that, I know that there was a question here. Pamela asking about so Nicole had mentioned using Saint Germain. If you that would be a substitution more for the Cointreau portion.
Yes.
The mezcal is a tequila.
So liqueur,
mezcal or tequila, but the liqueur is the Cointreau.
Yeah, liqueur is a sweetened alcohol. So it is usually a distilled spirit that has been infused with a fruit or flavor that is then sweetened with sugars. So that's exactly what Grand Marnier or Cointreau is. And that's exactly what Saint Germain or Domaine de Canton or creme de menthe or creme de cacao, anything that if you taste it and it tastes very sweet and it has a lower alcohol by volume, ABV, alcohol content, if it's below about 20%, you're fair to think that it is a liqueur. And the substitution you'd be making there would be for the Cointreau. So it's a 3/4 ounce.
Yeah,
Not that I would judge
liqueur.
you.
It's also delicious too.
Which one?
The ginger liqueur, so good.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love ginger. Ginger with lime is like so good. I will not judge you if you actually substitute it for the tequila, but it'll be a very sweet drink.
Okay, so we're going to walk you through making the sugar. I'm going to change my camera setting for a second here.
Perfect.
Come down there. All right. So we sent you a recipe. Basically, it is very simple. And for those who want our diehard salt, just margarita, just straight salt, you're welcome to do so. We love kind of changing it a little bit and giving some other complexity to it. So it's going to be 1 tablespoon of salt, and we like the flaked salt, that you can use coarse salts and such. So the coarse is going to be a little bit more like a rock salt. The flakes literally look like, let me actually pin my camera.
Yeah, if you have something like a Maldon salt,
yeah. So this is bigger, Maldon right here.
Perfect. Yeah, it's like a thin sheet flake. You can actually crush the flakes in your hand.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite for these kind of things. It's actually a less salty salt, which sounds weird when you talk about it, but it's a gentler salt than your traditional, even kosher. It's less salty than kosher.
And then for sugars, up to you. This is raw sugar, but you can also use regular granulated sugar.
So
and
yeah,
that's
for
a tablespoon
this,
also.
I love a coarser sugar as well, because for all of it, we want the texture and we don't need it to dissolve too quickly. I love demerara of all kinds. So coarser salts or raw sugar you see with a little bit bigger grains. I love it, but white sugar is totally fine for this.
Yeah, Casey, this is a raw sugar. That's what you were asking. All right, and it's really it's the size of the grains that really matter, because it's like Nicole says, the smaller it is, the more quicker it dissolves onto the glass, and you want it to keep its stability for a while there. Okay, and now we're going to do a teaspoon of chili, and you mix that in, and just give it a nice little mixture there. Now, play with the flavors. I mean, I would taste a little bit of the chili first and decide if it's a spicy one or not. I have one that's actually a sriracha chili, which was delicious, but it's spicy. It has a nice little kick to it. And now, what you're going to do is you're going to put it all on a plate to give it a nice little space there. Then, I'm going to come back up for a second. Hello. And we are going to grab our glasses. Now, once again, for die-hard traditional margarita drinkers who want the full rim, then you're going to just take your lime and you're going to give it a nice rim around there. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to get the top and the sides more than the inside of the glass, just because you want the salt to stay on the top and on the edge. If it goes inside and it's the entire rim, it's going to make your margarita way too salty. And so with that, you're going to rim it. And sorry, I'm going to move back down a little bit here. Come back around and just give it a 360 rim right there.
Yeah, that's
now,
beautiful.
What Nicole and I were talking about a suggestion is that I myself don't love so much salt on my margarita. And so we have here, back up, a suggestion, which is when you're serving someone, you don't want to assume, for us on events, that you're going to want that entire amount of salt, but you want the option of it. And so we take the lime, we give it a edge right here, and then you dunk it in, and you're getting just a little pretty suggestion. And then if the guest wants it, they can enjoy it. If they don't need to partake in it. Same thing with glassware. I mean, we do have the traditional margarita glasses because that's what people like. Sometimes when I think of a margarita, I don't get it. I also read, Nicole, that it was supposed to be shaped after Marie Antoinette's bosom. I don't know if that's true or not. But,
as all good glassware should be.
But I generally like mine in a rocks glass or in a cubes glass. So it's really up to you what you enjoy. Okay, Nicole, you want to start making cocktails?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, is everyone now garnished if they want, or if they want to just add it on top like me, they're going to wait until the end. If so, let's get ready. So we're going to take what we are going to be putting our liquid in and make sure that we have ice up to about 1/3 of the shaker. All right, next we are going to put our tequila. I always put alcohol down first because those are my initial building blocks. When I even don't know what I'm quite going to do yet with the cocktail, I always put the liquor down first so I can start smelling it and start getting ideas of like, how am I going to balance this out? Oh yeah, lime will be great. Orange will be great. Let's make it pretty classic. Let's put some ginger in there. All right, so 2 ounces, which is 4 tablespoons, or the big side of your jigger, or if you're just measuring in a general thing, 2 fluid ounces. Next, we're going to put our Cointreau or our orange liqueur or any other liqueur, which is a sweetened alcohol. We're going to put 3/4 ounce, which is 1.5 tablespoons. Put it right on top. And now it's time for our lime. So let's give it a nice cut and juice. Mine are big limes, but they don't have a huge amount of juice. But after both halves, I was able to get exactly 1 ounce out. If you have really small limes, you can, I've heard the trick of actually putting them in the microwave for about 5 seconds to create more juice. I've never actually done it, but I heard that it's actually able to then break down some of those fibers that stop you from getting all of the juices out. So
yeah, it does work.
It works?
Yeah, but also just giving it a good roll before you.
Like crushing it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, releasing those membranes.
Exactly. So I have now, that was a juicy lime. I have more than 1 ounce in this guy. I love the smell of fresh lime. I'm on. Can't deny it. All right, I got our 3 ingredients in here. If you were to change this up and make it a little bit more unique or make it this would be a time that if you had like some fresh ginger and if you wanted to put it in, you can put it in on top of this. If you had some berries, if you had some fresh herbs, if you wanted to give like a very gentle balance of other flavor, now is the time that you can throw it in the shaker. And what we're going to do is shake it so hard that it'll bruise it without giving it too much other flavor. So you can give it this suggestion of other flavor if you put it into the shaker now. But let's work on the classic. So we're going to make sure that it's lined up on one side and gapping on the other. And then we all know how I shake. Now's our turn to judge your shaking, which sounds bad, but I promise I'll be nice about it. But remember, all we're doing is back and forth and up and down to a little music that might be in your head. Don't spill it, don't drop it. And do it until your arm hurts and your hands are very cold, and then you know you have an amazing drink. All right, so I'm gonna shake, but I want you all to shake with me. Don't stop now. If I'm still going, you should still be going. I'm just kidding. You guys are doing great. Seriously. All right, my hands are cold. Now's the time to open this guy up. And we are going to get our glass ready. I'm gonna put some ice in my glass. Again, I'm putting a very clear cube because I've been spending all week making them and it's amazing. But regular ice is perfect. And we're gonna strain it into our glass. Now, if you've already rimmed your glass with the salt, I still recommend putting a tiny dash, just a sprinkle on top, in order to incorporate that initially into the cocktail. For me, I'm gonna put a solid pinch, and my pinch looks like this. I don't know if you can see how much is coming out, but I'm filling up about 3 fingers. I'm filling that up with my hand full of the salt. And that's it. Don't drink it yet. Okay, one sip. And then we have to make it look pretty, okay? So the next step is gonna be garnishing. All right, let's do this. T, if you wanna take it away for garnish, that would be perfect. And I will work on mine over here.
All right, so we have our margarita. And really, at this point, it's up to you. I mean, the salt is the main garnish of a margarita. But then in addition to that, if you want to take it up several notches, you can add other things. Jessica knows we love dehydrated fruits and such. So I have somewhere here, we have dehydrated a handful of different fruits. Done it right here. Here we go. This is a dehydrated orange. And we try to pick garnishes that either are similar to the ingredients that are within the cocktail, or we're going to go with something that contrasts it completely. So this is a dehydrated orange. I actually had little key lines that we also did. And then I put a little bit of the sugar on there, and I'm going to lay it on mine. But we love you to kind of bring in different things, such as if you want to bring in fresh herbs, bring in a little fresh herbs to it. Otherwise, add fresh citrus. You can always do a great lemon wheel, and then that's going to add a little bit of beautiful acidity to it. Or drink it with the salt, with a little bit of sprinkle. I'm going to cut mine. Sorry, my camera's right there. And voila, we have our garnish.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
All right. Yeah, and unmute yourself now because we kind of want to hear what you all think on the cocktail. And if you have other questions.
How's it taste at the very least?
Yeah.
Delicious. Very refreshing.
Because I might be on number 3. I'm not gonna like tell myself, but I might be on number 3.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you wanted to incorporate fruit, do you recommend muddling it beforehand at the base of the margarita or using just juice?
2 ways. So, well, 3 ways now that you say that. Okay, so my favorite way for a margarita is to muddle it at the base. So in your shaker, before you put the ice in, you put, if you have fresh fruit, you put it in there, you just beat it up, right? That's my favorite way to do it. Other great way to do it is to incorporate a simple syrup, but know that if you're incorporating a simple syrup, you're going to use less of the liqueur because we shouldn't be adding that much sugar to this cocktail. If you can taste it right now, that's exactly as it should taste. It should taste bright and fresh up front. The tequila adds a nice salty hit and a big kind of dryness to it. And that liqueur is just adding the touch, enough sweetness to round it out and make it drinkable. But you can absolutely make a simple syrup, and it's a good way to use fruit flavor for a longer period of time than just fresh fruit each drink. So if you had like fresh strawberries that you wanted to incorporate, or strawberry and ginger, or strawberry and like thyme, you can cook it down with sugar and water, and then let it sit as it cools, strain it out, and then incorporate like a bar spoon or so of that into your cocktail as you make it, and then you can adjust for sweetness.
Yeah, so we can do this right now if you want. So really it's just equal parts, right? So make it at home, a cup of sugar, literally just 1 cup of water, and then whatever you would like in there. So
yeah, so
whenever you're having,
we love spicy margaritas more than anything. Look at this. It's my favorite. So yeah, some jalapeno in the simple is awesome.
Yeah,
really, really awesome.
Fresh mint inside of it is delicious too. Strawberries, like Nicole mentioned, but yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. Have you tried the jalapeno tequila?
Yeah,
Tanteo?
absolutely. Anything spicy, I will drink every day.
Yeah, it saved me from always having to have a fresh jalapeno. So
exactly. Yes, I love the idea of spicy tequilas.
That and grapefruit. Perfect. That's what I've been doing a lot of.
It's perfect. Yeah. Those are like a spicy Paloma. That's like my favorite drink.
It's called Tanteo, Tanteo. And I mean, obviously I got it at Benny's in Chicago, so I'm sure you guys can find it in DC somewhere.
They have it in Virginia for sure, but I'm maybe in Montgomery County, and I'm sure in DC.
Yeah. But that's where, when you're making cocktails at home, or just in general, keep simple syrups in your house. It's really fun, because then as you're making different types of cocktails, whether it's a margarita, whether it's a Collins, martini, you have fun, different flavors to play with.
And
also, go ahead.
How, like, once you make it, you can keep it for how long?
Probably about 2 weeks.
Yeah, you have about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So make small, if it is just you and another person, like make, like 2 cups of a simple syrup at a time, until you really know that you like love something. But yeah, if you're doing trials, I usually start with like a half cup of sugar, a quarter cup of sugar, and a quarter cup of water, or a half cup of water, just equal parts. Just until I know that like, yeah, okay, this is something I'm going to incorporate on a more regular basis. So smaller portions are good. And I love experimentation. Work with weird things, try different herbs. I always take it back, and I know T always takes it back to cooking, right? So if you're going to cook with certain spice blends or herb blends, or know how to complement like apples or those kinds of things, don't be afraid to use that in a drink variation. Just know that you should not do it with radishes. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. I don't know if you've smelled fermented radishes or after they sit for a day, but it's rough. So it's the only no I would say.
Does anyone else have any questions? We ready for Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, everyone ready for Cinco de Mayo now?
Yeah.
Play around with it over the weekend and have the perfect drink ready for, what is it, Tuesday? I think?
Yeah.
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, so
we
I have
have-
a question.
Yeah.
So my daughter-in-law loves, what was it? Saint Germain's, you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Elderflower, yes.
And I missed the part because my brother called and I had to like get him off the line so I could drink,
Yes, of course. Yes.
Tell me again how to use Saint Germain and what you were talking about today.
In this recipe that we gave you, it would take the place of the Cointreau. So if you want to use Saint Germain, use 3/4 ounce, so 2 ounces of tequila or mezcal, 1 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 ounce of Saint Germain. It is a touch sweeter than Cointreau, but use it. It's going to taste beautiful.
Yeah. So Saint Germain has such a flowery smell to it. How would I elevate that by the rim choice? Would I still use salt, or would I use
lavender? Lavender is great with it.
You can, yes, absolutely. So dried lavender, crush it up with salt and sugar. Still the same proportions of salt and sugar, but absolutely. Cool. Lavender and actually like black peppercorn are
Mhm.
gorgeous together. And if you put just like a pinch of like ground up black pepper with the lavender, it adds that little bit of spice and still rounds everything out. It's
The
beautiful.
other thing that's really nice is citrus zest. So you can just take a little bit of your lemon zest and zest a little bit into your salt, and it's light. It's not overpowering.
Awesome. So I'm gonna try and do a Zoom call with my daughter-in-law for Mother's Day, and
Love it.
I wanted to help her make this drink. So thank you.
Oh,
You're
please,
welcome.
no, I'm so glad. I hope it helps everyone have some good times.
All right. So shall we hear some music?
Well, all right. Well, thanks everybody. We ran over a little bit with time, so we don't have time to do the little activity I was planning, but I do want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you to T and Nicole. And we do have a couple other of Joyful Zooms coming up. There is, I don't know, T, if you can highlight or pin that square for me, if that's possible.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got May 14th at noon, so during your lunch hour, with me coming out of quarantine. What are you gonna wear? So if you don't know, I'm also a wardrobe stylist, been for years, and we'll be talking about some of the latest trends and making sure we're ready when we actually have to start seeing people again. And wearing pants. May 21st at 7 o'clock, we are partnering with our friends at Bluemont Vineyard. They just did their rosé release. It's perfect time for rosé. And they are shipping all over. It's only $15 flat rate shipping. I think it's $72 or $75 for 3 bottles of wine. We can all get on together and do a wine tasting. I'm sure everybody's missing wine tastings right now. So that's on May 21st. And then May 28th at noon, also on your lunch hour, we're bringing our style lounge to you at home with our friends at Makeup by Holly. She's fabulous, and she'll basically teach you how to do some of the stuff that we're all scared to do, like, you know, the contouring and all that stuff. So please join us for those, and we'll just close out with, we do have a little contest. We are going to, if you tag us, post something, tag it on Instagram. I will put the handles into the chat right now at j.shea.style. That is my handle, and at Cocktail Curations, hashtag JShea Joyful Zoom, not Zoo. Joyful Zoom. We are going to be raffling off this awesome, I can't even see myself, so hold on and make sure you can see me. This is one of BrewMate's new tumblers. I don't know if you guys have seen these yet. They're gorgeous, perfect for putting a margarita in or another cocktail. So this will be shipped to you, compliments of us, and then Cocktail Curations is going to put in one of their fresh mixers that they hand make, and
And some garnishes. Yeah.
So make sure you do that, and we will post probably sometime tomorrow afternoon. So do that by noon tomorrow is when we will do the drawing. So thank you, everybody. Say, is Jorge on? Are you here? And
I'm unmuting everybody just to see if anyone wants to.
Hang out, have a drink, listen.
Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba se necesita una poca de gracia. Una poca de gracia y otra cosita, y arriba y arriba.
Hey, come here.
Arriba y arriba y arriba iré.
Cheers, everyone.
Por ti seré. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Everybody now. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, ba, ba. Para bailar la bamba. Se necesita una poca de gracia, una poca de gracia para mi ti. Allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba iré. Por ti seré, por ti seré. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba, se necesita una poca de gracia. Una poca de gracia para mí, para ti. Allá arriba, allá arriba. Allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba, iré. Por ti seré, por ti seré. Bamba, bamba. 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 Bamba, bamba.
Thanks, Jorge.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody. Have a great time.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bye. Thank you for
Awesome.
joining
Yes.
us.
Thank you.
Good job, Jay.
Thank you.